A very good evening to all our viewers. This is News First for the People, and welcome to tonight's edition of Primetime News, coming to you live from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. I'm Lanka. Let's start off with a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
It is difficult to release funds to hold the local government election. Statement from senior government official. State Minister of Finance speaks about funding the local government polls.
යෝජනාවක් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ගේනවා කියලා කියනවා ඡන්දයට වියදම් කරන්න බෑ කියලා. මුදල් අමාත්‍යාංශය වෙන කිසිදු සූදානමක් නැහැ.
අත්‍යවශ්‍ය දේවල් වලට හැර වෙනත් කිසිදු කාරණයකට මුදල් වැය කිරීම සඳහා ඉඩකඩක් ලැබිලා නැහැ.
Elections cannot be postponed, claiming there is a lack of funds, says trade unions.
රනිල් කිව්වොත් එහෙම ඔය නම් ජනාධිපතිවරණ ඕනෙත් නැහැ මං දිගටම ඉන්නම් ඡන්ද තියන්නේ නැහැ කිව්වොත් අපි පිළිගන්න ඕනේද?
Maha-season harvest loss will be minimal. A statement from the Department of Agriculture. March demanding true freedom reaches Mullaitivu from the north. Amnesty calls for investigation and accountability over police attack on Satyagraha in Maradana. Litro gas prices to increase again tonight.
And now the story is in detail. 50 buses donated by India were symbolically handed over to President Ranil Wickremesinghe this morning. This is under the program to donate 500 buses to Sri Lanka.
The program is aimed at strengthening the transport services in rural areas of the country. Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Gopal Bagle, handed over the documentation to President Ranil Wickremesinghe today. President Ranil Wickremesinghe had directed officials to deploy the buses to rural areas of the country.
Commonwealth Secretary General Patricia Scotland assured that Sri Lanka is not alone in the challenges the country faces. She was speaking at an event titled The Geopolitical Cartographer, held in Colombo yesterday.
The Geopolitical Cartographer was held yesterday under the theme The Role of the Commonwealth in an Era of Polycrisis, under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Commonwealth Secretary General Patricia Scotland, addressing the inaugural lecture for geopolitical cartographers, assured that Sri Lanka is not alone in the challenges the country faces. She said, and I quote, "I know that Sri Lanka continues to feel the weight of political and economic pressure, and I am here because I want every Sri Lankan to know that you are not alone. You are part of this special, precious Commonwealth family," unquote. President Ranil Wickremesinghe also addressed the event.
The geopolitical cartographer was the outcome of a discussion of firstly increasing the number of think tanks and research institutes in the country. Secondly, to focus on international affairs. Thirdly, not merely to cover the whole range of international affairs, but to focus on an area which was of concern to us, where we are located, the Indian Ocean. Its geopolitical aspects, its geoeconomic aspects, its environmental aspects, which fall into either geopolitical or geoeconomics. And it was called the geopolitical cartographer because now the maps are drawn and boundaries are drawn not according to geography but according to geopolitics. For a long time, we belonged to a region known as the Indian Ocean, and all of a sudden it became the Indo-Pacific. So that is geopolitical cartography. The same thing, Europe has a problem now of where to draw the boundaries between Russia and Ukraine. It keeps changing throughout the world. Various claims are made, but we have to learn now that cartography depends completely on geopolitics and nothing else.
The price of litro gas has been increased with effect from midnight today.
The price of a 12.5 kilogram gas cylinder has been increased by 334 rupees, and the new price will be 4,743 rupees. The price of a 5 kilogram gas cylinder has been increased by 134 rupees, and the new price will be 1,904 rupees. And the price of a 2.3 kilogram gas cylinder will be increased by 61 rupees, making the new price 883 rupees.
This month we saw the largest increase in global gas prices in recent history. It was an increase over $200. I remember last time when there was a price increase like this, Litro Gas Company had to increase the price by 2,000 rupees in 2022. We should work according to the prices of the world market, and the real price is around 950 rupees. Taking into consideration the price fluctuations in the world market, we ordered more than 7,000 tons in January. We decided to release the profit of slightly more than 500 million to the consumers. At the same time, we would like to say that we have enough gas stocks until the end of the Sinhala and Tamil New Year 2024. Therefore, we would like to say that we as Litro Gas Company will ensure that there is no gas shortage in our country again.
Litro Gas ආයතනයේ විදිහට අපි වග බලා ගන්නවා කියන එක විශේෂයෙන්ම කියන්න කැමතියි.
Gas outlets were closed in Colombo and its suburbs since this morning. This was the situation in Panathura and Moratuwa.
The yellowing of crop is one of the most serious issues faced by paddy farmers across Sri Lanka at the moment. The Department of Agriculture confirmed that the spread of this disease will not cause massive crop losses this season. This was confirmed at a media briefing held at the Department of Agriculture in Peradeniya today.
The Department of Agriculture warned that the yellowing of crops disease could spread across all paddy fields in 25 districts of the country. The department said that out of a total of 765,000 hectares of paddy fields, the yellowing of crops disease has had a significant impact on about 3 to 5% of the cultivation.
2022-23 Maha season, around 765,000 hectares is under paddy cultivation. And out of this total cultivated area, nearly 8 to 10% was reported with yellowing symptoms and growth stunting. However, severity of the incidences varying among the districts and within the districts, where Anuradhapura, Mahavali System C and Mahavali System H were reported as highly affected areas that account for nearly 3 to 5% of total paddy cultivation.
Director of the Bathalagoda Paddy Research and Development Institute, Dr. Jayantha Senanayaka said the failure to provide proper nutrition to paddy fields during the early days of the cultivation is also a major cause for the spread of this disease.
As the Paddy Research and Development Board, we have conducted research in over 351 sectors. We identified a deficiency of potassium and phosphorus. We also identified damage caused by pests in 49% of the crops, but this always does not cause much harm to the crops. We also identified brown spot disease. Out of the 351 sectors that we examined, 213 had been infected with the brown spot disease. The main reason for the brown spot disease is the deficiency of potassium and the fertilizer used on the crops.
The Department of Agriculture said they expect the next Yala season will be successful.
The Department of Agriculture, in collaboration with officers from other relevant departments and university academia, is currently planning for successful paddy production in the forthcoming Yala season.
No matter what officers of the Department of Agriculture say, farmers in Sri Lanka are in dire straits. Farmers who were unable to reap a proper harvest over the several past seasons are helpless. Not only paddy cultivations, corn, vegetable, fruit, flowers and many other cultivations were also brought to their knees. The chain effect caused by the drop in produce extended to crippling the production of meat and eggs. Consumers were also left in a daze. How did farmers and consumers in Sri Lanka become so helpless? The root cause can be traced to the inept decision of the government at the time to completely ban the use of chemical fertilizer overnight. That decision led to the fertilizer crisis. What is this fertilizer crisis? How did this affect the farmers and the entire country? Without any assessment of the consequences, the government banned the use of chemical fertilizer and other agrochemicals overnight. The government went ahead with this move despite repeated warnings against the move by professionals and experts in the field. With each passing season, farmers fell from the frying pan to the stove. Although farmers continue to point out that despite an organic fertilizer policy being good in the long run, it cannot be implemented haphazardly overnight. The adamant leadership at the time paid no heed. Paddy that was cultivated using fertilizer for decades started to wither away. Weeds overgrew the paddy. When farmers demanded for fertilizer, the government saw it fit to pay over $6 million to a Chinese company for a shipment of organic fertilizer that was never unloaded on Sri Lankan shores. Liquid nitrogen fertilizer was brought down from India. That too was a failure. Farmers who filled their granaries in the past were left to stare in despair at their devastated paddy fields. Rice from India, Myanmar and China was brought down to Sri Lanka. The price of rice shot through the roof. Several seasons passed and Agriculture Department officials assured that the Maha season will be successful. But now the yellowing of crop disease has spread far and wide across all 25 districts of the country. Now officials are saying that the next season will be successful. What should be done to prevent the same fate from befalling farmers during the next season? The people deposed the leaders who took these foolish decisions that devastated the country. But those who supported these leaders in making these decisions are still in office. These people, who are also responsible for the devastation of the country's paddy fields, are now acting as if nothing happened. Can the fields of farmers be protected in the next season? What is their program? Where is their plan? The people are waiting for these questions to be answered. The people will never forget those who were responsible for these crimes. While agriculture officials say that the damage will be minimal this season, what is the situation on the ground? These are paddy fields cultivated in Rajavava, Ampara. These crops have been infected by the yellowing of crop disease. Farmers point out that although harvesting season is around the corner, their fields are all but destroyed.
75% of this has gone bad. The remaining crops are empty. This is what happened to us after we used this organic fertilizer. Look at this. There is no harvest in any of these. How can we farm when the harvest we get is so little? How can we live like this? I will have to abandon all of these fields during the next Yala season. The paddy seeds are all destroyed. This is the harvest that we get. They destroyed the entire country when they did this to the farmers. All of these seeds have turned black. Can we get any harvest from this? Look at how many seeds are here. Is there any point in this? We couldn't redeem the jewelry that we pawned to cultivate the previous season. This season is also the same. How can we live like this? We don't sleep at night to protect our fields from elephants. During the day, we have to stare at these fields that are all but gone. These seeds are black. Some of them haven't even sprouted. We cultivated these fields because we are the ones who supply rice to the entire nation. Why did they do this to us? Officials should provide us with a solution. We only have some namesake ministers.
Farmers allege that there is a massive disparity between the situation that they face in real life and the predictions of officials of the Department of Agriculture.
Sri Lanka, the election headquarters.
A senior government spokesperson says that it is very difficult to release the funds required for the local government elections. He revealed that the Treasury does not have enough money.
The government spokesman said that the current financial crisis has affected every sector including health. However, he explained that all measures will be taken to release funds on demand whenever possible. Newsfirst made an inquiry from the Election Commissioner General Srilankanbeauty in this regard. He said that since the local government election must be held as per the Constitution, the Ministry of Finance had previously said that funding would be provided. Srilankanbeauty said that the Commission is confident that it will be dealt with accordingly. State Minister Minister of Finance Ranjit Siyambalapitiya says no proposal will be submitted to Parliament after informing that there are no funds for an election.
These reports have no basis. According to you, it was reported in a newspaper that a Parliament will be informed on the 8th of February that it cannot afford an election. The Ministry of Finance has made no such plans. There is no need for us to do such a thing. We want to make it clear that the Ministry of Finance is a respectable establishment dedicated to the management of finances.
State Minister of Finance Shehan Semasinghe, however, said this.
There
has been no room to spend except for essential matters. If we make any effort to do so, there is no way for us to meet the necessary expenses. We have to delay pension payments to retired senior citizens. Other subsidies like Samurdhi have to be delayed. We will face problems in paying the bills to 50 to 52 billion rupees, which have not been paid for the health sector.
ඔය මුදල් අමාත්‍යාංශයේ නිලධාරියාගෙන් අපි අහනවා.
You're asking the Finance Ministry officials whether the vote will be held if the Parliament is dissolved tomorrow. The sovereign power is not with the Ministry of Finance but in the hands of the people. Therefore, the Ministry of Finance should allocate money for the Election Commission. Now they say there is no money for this vote. If Ranil says there is no money for presidential elections, should we accept that? That is why the Ministry of Finance should do its job. 283 billion rupees were printed last year. We are taking about 10 billion rupees. The Election Commission has said that we can hold the election as funds are available. The people of the country are ready. Public servants are ready to do election duty free of charge. We want the Ministry of Finance to not be a party to the government's games.
අපි කියනවා මුදල් අමාත්‍යාංශයට ආණ්ඩුවේ ගේම් වල කොටස්කාර වෙන්න ලෑස්ති වෙන්න එපා.
Meanwhile, Sunday Times reports that the estimate presented by the police department for the upcoming local government election is 6 times more than the estimated amount of 2018. The relevant report indicates that the Election Commission is preparing to file objections to the Treasury against the bloated expenditure estimate presented by the police department. The report states that the Election Commission is also preparing to report to the Supreme Court regarding this bloated estimate presented by the police. There is no need to have any doubts regarding the election. At a glance, there are only two opportunities to prevent the election. One is through the passage of an act in Parliament, and the other is the steps that are already been taken in court. There are only few days left. This matter will most likely be taken up on the 10th of February. We know that the economy is in disarray, but it is not possible to keep postponing the election due to the economic factor. No country in the world has postponed elections based on the economic factors. Also, even if this local government election is postponed, there is a question whether we have the ability to postpone the parliamentary and presidential elections in this way. Therefore, there is no room to postpone the election based on the economic factors.
ආර්ථික සාධකයේ මත කල් දැමීමට ඉඩක් නැහැ.
There is an attempt to postpone the election by making a statement during the President's throne speech that there is no money to hold the election. It is embarrassing, ugly and shameful that the Ranil Rajapaksha government that claims to have developed the country and the economy is now bringing a proposal to Parliament saying that they have no money to hold the election. We call for the suspension of salaries to all ministers. We will not allow for such a proposal to be brought to Parliament. We are ready for the election. If this election is postponed, it will have to be held sometime in the future. The people know who can work and who knows how to work. The people know who are the leaders who truly love them. The people will decide at the election. During the Aragale, you asked the people not to riot, not to take to the streets, and that governments must be overthrown through an election. Now when the people are preparing for an election, you are trying to rob them of that opportunity. We would like to warn Ranil Wickremesinghe, if you are not going to hold the election, you better prepare yourself to face the Aragale on the streets that is to come.
Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa says that the first step to send the UNP SLPP government home will be winning the local government election. He expressed these views at a rally held in Panadura yesterday.
Today, everyone from the smallest child to the youth, government employees, middle class, the entire society has collapsed, and the reason for all of that is the despicable Rajapaksa regime that treated the 22 million people in this country as slaves. The 22 million people of this country no longer need to be slaves of any ruler, any leader or any politician in this country. We make a promise to everyone that the first step to liberate this country enslaved by the Rajapaksas and is continued to be enslaved by the UNP SLPP government will be the victory we achieve at the local government election on the 9th of March.
Former Western Province Minister Ranjit Somawansa joined the Samagi Jana Balawegaya.
There are only a few more Poya days left. Keep in mind that after you vote on the 9th of March, the opposition leader will take his next step as the next leader of the country. He will take away the starvation of the people, develop the education system of the children and take the country down a right path.
දුප්පත් අහිංසක මිනිස්සුන්ගේ කුසගින්න නිවලා මේ අහිංසක දරුවන්ගේ අධ්‍යාපනය නිවැරදි තැනකට ගෙනල්ලා මේ රට නිවැරදි තැනකට හරවන්නේ අනාගත අපේ නායකයා සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස මැතිතුමා කියන එක මම තමුන්නාතරට බොහොම ආඩම්බරෙන් මතක් කරනවා.
Parliamentarian Chandima Veerakkodi attended a Samagi Jana Balawegaya rally in Hiniduma yesterday and pledged his support to the SJB.
The following views were expressed regarding the expenditure on Independence Day celebrations and its outcomes.
Do you need to spend so much of money to hold this Independence Day? How much money has been spent on all these things? This book, titled Siyawasata Piyawara, was printed. Children were not given certificates at the national games, but Ranil Wickramasinghe is distributing these colourful books at the Independence Day celebrations. What is included in this book? It says that the country will be a developed country by 2048. We would like to ask why Ranil Wickramasinghe couldn't develop this country when he was Prime Minister for the last 6 times. This man, who could never become president through an election, rose to power and did this to get the respect of the presidency. He said he is holding this massive ceremony for the world to see. How many countries in the world have helped us? They can't even print the exam papers for the term tests. That is the current situation. Although they said that the estimate for the Independence Day celebrations is 200 million, they must have spent more than that. They must reveal to the country just how much they spent for this. They even fixed lightning rods at the stands for the Independence Day celebration.
Ranil Wickramasinghe said that we must celebrate Independence Day even if we don't have money. If not, the world will think that we are a country that can't even celebrate our independence. He made that statement in public. Ranil Wickramasinghe must be ashamed of himself. When he says things like this, the world already knows our plight. The actions taken by this government to cover up their ineffectiveness has already been exposed to the country and to the world. Out of 22 million people in this country, only one person is celebrating independence. Out of 22 million people in this country, only one man is happy, and that man is Ranil Wickramasinghe. Besides him, no one enjoys true freedom. Only Ranil Wickramasinghe can celebrate Independence Day. Tanzania celebrate their Independence Day on the 9th. Tanzania is also governed by an interim president just like Sri Lanka. The president of Tanzania dies, and what did the president of Tanzania do for Independence Day? She asked how much is Independence Day going to cost. They said that it will cost 930 million Tanzanian shillings. If you convert that to Sri Lankan rupees, it is 170 million rupees. The president said that 64 million people are suffering with no food to eat. They are suffering. She said that it will be a waste to spend 930 million shillings on a celebration. She directed officials to use the money to develop 8 schools teaching disabled children. She cancelled the Independence Day celebrations. Although that happened in Tanzania, something like that will never happen in Sri Lanka.
In a country where massive projects are launched as a farcical show of development to the world, there are ordinary people in Sri Lanka who have waited for decades to see real development. This is their story.
Imagine having to risk your life and the lives of your family just to get to work or to school or to rush a patient to hospital. Imagine living a life where you have to make a daily choice between the possibility of being killed by herds of wild elephants or fall into your death of a rickety wooden bridge with rotting planks that could give way at any moment. This may not be easy for people who live in cities to understand, but this is the harsh daily reality for the 300 families who live in the villages of Pussalavinna and Surya Pokuna in the Dehiyattakandiya region on the border of the Maduru National Park. This bridge is the shortest route for children to go to school and connects the two villages to the town. The dilapidated state of this bridge has left the 300 families living here in dire straits because they must gamble with their lives every time they cross this bridge when it rains. These people, who have been battered for decades by the human-elephant conflict, don't have a proper road to travel on.
පිටිතාලකට හරි ආගන්න බෑ. එහා පැත්තේ ආයෙ මෙහා පැත්තට එන්න බෑ. මේ පාලමෙන් අපි හැහෙන්න පල්ලෙහාට වැල්ලා තිනවා සමහර ළමයි. මේ පාලම වහිලා අසලට යන්න බෑ ලෙස්සනවා. මේ ට්‍රැක්ටරයක් මේ කුඹරකට ගිහිල්ලා වී ටිකක් පටවගෙන ගෙදරට වී ටික පටවගෙන යන්න බෑ. අරේ මට රවුමෙන් යන්න ඕන කිලෝමීටර 5ක් විතර තියෙනවා කුඹුරේ ඉඳන් යනකොට.
The fact that the other road leading to the school in the village is being located close to the Maduru Forest Reserve, which is also 5 kilometers longer, has left these children exposed to wild elephant attacks. These children opt to cross this bridge despite the risks involved, as an encounter with a wild elephant while travelling on the other road could mean death. The fervent plea of these long-suffering people is for the government authorities to build a proper bridge that they and their children can go across safely, so that they and their loved ones don't have to risk death every day.
News First, with the people.
There were a number of heroes who sacrificed their lives so that Sri Lanka could gain independence from the British. The battles fought by these heroes prove the bravery displayed by our ancestors. Today, we bring you the story of the Battle of Randenivala.
In the campaign to conquer the Kandyan kingdom, the Portuguese fought many battles. However, in many of those battles, the Portuguese were defeated by the Sri Lankan forces. The Battle of Randenivala is one such example. 3,500 Portuguese soldiers, led by Governor Constantino de Sá, battled the Kandyan forces in Randenivala.
Prince Astana, who later became the legendary King Rajasingha II, cemented his greatness when he defeated an entire army of Portuguese soldiers here in Randenivala.
In 1603, after invading Badulla and Mahiangane and robbing the palace of Prince Kumarasinghe, the son of King Vimaladharmasurya, the Portuguese army set up camp in Randenivala.
There were no carpeted roads at the time. When they arrived here, the sun had set. They had gunpowder with them. The gunpowder had got soaked in water due to the rain. The Portuguese had laid the gunpowder in this area in an attempt to dry them, and the Sri Lankan forces had spied on them and noticed this. The Kandyan forces had shot fiery arrows into the gunpowder which was laid down. The Portuguese forces got caught in the massive fire. After that, our army started attacking them from all sides until the entire Portuguese army was massacred.
This paddy field in Randenivala is identified as Mini Kandavela.
Randenivelehi uturanarupu le sayure nagannata vuha sinhalayo.
Join us tomorrow as we bring you the details about a school that originated from a battle.
Well, time for a short commercial break. Stay with News First. We will be right back.
News First, main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you. Experience the best in healthcare at Durden's Hospital's new Alfred Place wing. We continue to evolve into a purpose-built hospital of the future, with an ambience built to deliver world-class care. Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
Welcome back. Here with News First. The protest march that was launched from Jaffna yesterday by several civil organizations and students of the Northeast University citing various demands including the release of political prisoners reached Mullaitivu today.
Yesterday, the protest march began in Jaffna and reached Kilinochchi. Today, the march continued from Kilinochchi to Mullaitivu.
Today there are serious issues regarding democracy in the country, especially in the south. Mobs are used to attack protests. This is the situation in the north as well. Therefore, as university students, we are carrying out this struggle. The arrest in university students should stop. We are conducting this protest demanding for repression to be stopped.
A group of university students also staged a protest in Kilinochchi today in support of this protest march. This protest march is scheduled to reach Batiklo by the 7th of this month. A group of Sri Lankan expatriates in Italy protested in Milan against the attack on the Freedom Satyagraha in Maradana.
මත යැපෙන්නේ නැති දේශපාලනයන් මිනිස්සුන්ගේ මනසවල් තුල හැදෙන්න ඕනේ. එහෙම හැදුනොත් ඒ වගේම මේ කාලකන්ණි පාලකයාගේ ගේම් එක අඳුර ගන්න පුළුවන් තරම් අපේ දැනුම වැඩි වුණොත් විතරයි. ඒ කියන්නේ අපේ විඥානය, දර්ශනය, විද්‍යාව ඒ දැක්ම වැඩි වුණොත් විතරයි මේ පාලකයොත් එක්ක මේ ගේම් එක ප්ලේ කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි ආයෙත් විරුවෙක්ට රැවටෙනවා. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි ආයෙත් නළුවෙක්ට රැවටෙනවා.
Amnesty International South Asia has raised concerns over the violence that broke out in Maradana on Friday.
In a series of tweets, Amnesty International South Asia highlighted that not for the first time, Sri Lanka police used unnecessary and unlawful force against peaceful protesters in total violation of the people's right to peaceful assembly. It added, footage seen by Amnesty shows the police using tear gas and water cannons at high pressure to disperse peaceful protesters. Further, the police is seen using batons punitively when conducting arrests. The human rights group was also alarmed to hear that lawyers were denied access to those arrested in contravention of due process safeguards guaranteed under international law, adding that the authorities must at all times protect the right to peaceful protest and respect due process rights. Amnesty International South Asia stressed that the use of excessive force in this instance must be promptly and impartially investigated and relevant officers must be held accountable.
The annual Nava Mahaperahara of the Hunupitiya Gangarama temple is parading the streets of Colombo tonight.
The Nava Mahaperahara, which is being held for the 44th time, is parading the streets of Colombo tonight and tomorrow as well. The casket carrying sacred relics were placed on top of the Tusker Kandula by President Ranil Wickramasinghe.
කොළඹතොට අසිරිමත මහා මංගල්‍ය කොළඹ හුණුපිටිය ගංගාරාම විහාරස්ථානයේ නවම් මහා පෙරහර
ලෙස ගංගාරාම විහාරස්ථානයේ වැඩ සිටි අධිපූජ්‍ය කඩුවේ ශ්‍රී සුමංගල නායක මහානන්ද අද අපි ජීවත් වෙන්නේ අමාරු කාලේ අමාරුම කාලේ ඒ කාලේ
We are living through a difficult time. We must try to overcome these difficult times. We cannot abandon our heritage at a time like this. We cannot forget that. We will try to protect these customs. I consider this Perahara as a blessing. It is a blessing coming to us at a difficult time. I hope to provide more concessions by the time the Asala Perahara is upon us.
අද අපි අමාරු කාලේ ගියන් මම බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ ඇසල පෙරහැර කාලේ වෙනකොට ඊට වඩා සහනයක් අපිට ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි.
The prestigious Lakshman Khadiragama Memorial Lecture was delivered by Bangladesh Foreign Minister Abdul Amin on the 3rd of February.
Bangladesh Foreign Minister Dr. A.K. Abdul Momen delivered the annual lecture at the Lakshman Kadurgamar Institute of International Relations and Strategic Studies. He delivered the speech under the theme Shared Prosperity, a Vision for South Asia.
Our aspiration is to transform Bangladesh into a knowledge-based smart Bangladesh by 2041 and a prosperous and climate-resilient delta by 2100. We hope to attain those goals by way of ensuring women empowerment, sustainable economic growth, and creating opportunities for all. The priorities of Sheikh Hasina government are the following. First, to provide food. Second, provide clothes. Third, provide shelter and accommodation to all so that no one is left behind. Fourth, education. And fifth, healthcare to all. To achieve this goal, she promoted vehicles like Digital Bangladesh, innovation, foreign entrepreneurs, and private initiative in an atmosphere of regional peace, stability, and security, and through connectivity. Bangladesh has become a hub of connectivity and looking forward to become a smart Bangladesh. As for Sri Lanka, if we can establish better shipping connectivity, which our two countries are working on, the overall regional connectivity would be more robust.
The Lakshman Kadurgamar Memorial Lecture, instituted in the memory of Sri Lanka's most renowned foreign minister and statesman Lakshman Kadurgamar, has been delivered by various leaders and diplomats over the years and is considered a great honour conferred upon foreign dignitaries.
Billionaire businessman Onesh Subasinghe has been found dead in an apartment in Jakarta, Indonesia. Now, this was confirmed to Newsfirst by Sri Lanka's ambassador to the Republic of Indonesia, Admiral Professor Jainath Columbage. Professor Columbage said that a police investigation is underway in Jakarta, Indonesia. When Newsfirst reached out to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Director of Public Diplomacy said the ministry was looking into the matter. Moving on to news overseas, Pakistan's former President General Pervez Musharraf, who seized power in a coup in 1999, has died aged 79. Pakistan's General Pervez Musharraf, who seized power in a coup and later led Pakistan into aiding the US war in Afghanistan against the Taliban, died at the age of 79 today. A statement from the country's army said the former leader, who was president between 2001 and 2008, died in Dubai after a long illness. He had survived numerous assassination attempts and found himself on the front line of the struggle between militant Islamists and the West. He supported the US war on terror after 9/11 despite domestic opposition. In 2008, he suffered defeat in the polls and left the country 6 months later. When he returned in 2013 to try to contest the election, he was arrested and barred from standing. He was charged with high treason and was sentenced to death in absentia, only for the decision to be overturned less than a month later. He left Pakistan for Dubai in 2016 to seek medical treatment and had been living in exile in the country ever since. Musharraf's family announced in June 2022 that he had been hospitalized for weeks while suffering from an incurable condition that sees protein builds up in his body's organs. Musharraf entered the Pakistani army at the age of 18 and made his career there as Islamabad fought 3 wars against India. He launched his own attempt at seizing territory in the disputed Himalayan region of Kashmir in 1999, just before seizing power from Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. Sharif had ordered Musharraf's dismissal as the army chief flew home from a visit to Sri Lanka and denied his plane landing rights in Pakistan, even as it ran low on fuel. On the ground, the army seized control, and after he landed, Musharraf took charge. And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. Good night.